Speaking of that, Carl, searchers are relying on the cooperation of both the sky and the sea to get the clues that they need to uncover the mystery surrounding the flight of AirAisa 8501. Right now, search and recovery operations are halted due to the weather. It's the monsoon in that part of the region of the world. That's why we have Fabien Cousteau here. He's an oceanographer and explorer, has a good idea of what crews are up against, spending much of his life at sea. So Fabien, the monsoon obviously poses some pretty rough conditions to just get out there and get the crews to the place they need to be to get the divers in the water. But do those rains, does the monsoon affect the turbidity of the water? Does it make it more difficult to see? Is it more cloudy?
It does. The turbidity in the water, all the runoff from the nearby shore, of course, the cloud cover, all those things are a factor in limiting visibility, not only above the sea, but of course, even more importantly, down below.
So I understand, I've seen some reports that this plane was potentially detected via sonar. Would it be easy for divers to find it in the Java Sea? I understand it's pretty shallow, but is it going to be better to use sonar technology in this case?
Well, I think they're going to use all sorts of technologies and at the end of the day, visual recognition. If my memory serves, it's the hit was between 65 and 100 feet, which is fairly shallow and certainly accessible by scuba diving. That said, it allows for a little bit easier access, but at the same time, it also is a lot more subject to turbidity and weather patterns, including the churning up of the bottom of the sea.
Okay, so because of that churning up, because of that more cloudy water, that turbidity that we're talking about, because of the monsoon ongoing, what dangers are these divers facing in the water?
Well, just deploying the divers and deploying equipment in and out of the water when you have monsoons and high winds and, of course, heavy seas is always an issue with safety. So you don't want to injure people during this operation, and that certainly creates a lot more challenges.
So Fabien, you've used a lot of equipment in the salty ocean waters in the Java Sea. Is there anything in particular that we need to worry about with recovering some of this equipment? Is the salt water going to affect the state of that black box, any remnants of the plane?
I think just like we've seen in some similar situations, the black box itself, if undamaged, is certainly resistant to all that, and I'm sure the engineers have taken all these things into account. However, a lot of the other parts of the plane may be affected at some point or another by the corrosion issues with salt water. That said, we've seen that they've potentially found this plane in fairly short order. So for the most part, I believe that should be okay.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us this morning as we start this recovery effort. All right, we're going to follow all these details for you as we continue to turn up new details in Flight 8501. AMHQ continues next with a look at 3/4 of the country below freezing.